Hello everybody and welcome to Lights Up, the official podcast of the WNBL. I'm Grantley Bernard alongside Sharin Milner. We have got one round to go before the playoffs start. Shaz, these playoffs have been a long time coming, but I think they're going to be a great playoff.
They are. The top four is now set, and we had some finals teams, particularly the top three, making some big statements in round 18. It all kicked off up in Townsville on Friday night, where Dandenong went up there and beat the Fire 71-63 in what was a really tight game. Dandenong just getting away in the end. Kathleen McLeod, what a superstar, 21.6 assists, and Dandenong 40-26 points in the paint. In the ABC Game of the Week, we had Adelaide Lightning 98, easily accounting for the Sydney Flames 73. Susie Batkovic leading all scorers with 27 points, but Adelaide would have just sent a shudder up the spine of the top two there. They're looking very good. Over in Perth, West Coast Waves were defeated 55 to the Sydney Flames 69. West Coast would be happy they got above 50 points this week, but it still wasn't enough. Sydney, Katie Ray Ebsbury absolutely on fire with 25 points. Over in Bendigo, they secured top spot, 83, beating Canberra Capitals 46. Massive win there. 6 players in double figures, which is unbelievable. Michelle Cozier with 12 points for the Caps. At Bulleen, this was an absolute thriller. Almost game of the season, went down right on the buzzer. 77 Bulleen beating Canberra Capitals 75. Alice Kunix leading all scorers with 28 points, and Tess Magden getting the game winner there. Jess Bibby was on fire, turning back the clock again. 9 of 12 field goals and 25 points. And the final game of the round, Dandenong Rangers absolutely stomped out the Logan Thunder by nearly 40 points, getting 100 points to 62. I think it's the 5th or 6th time they've reached 100 this season. Jenna O'Hay continuing her dominance, 19 points and 9 assists.
Some big results there, as you mentioned, and that last one probably just goes to underline the depth, the talent, the strength, the fitness, everything you want to win a championship from Dandenong. They play Townsville in Townsville, win that one, a tough game against a playoff team, then turn around and smash Logan on the second leg of a road double.
It certainly was, GB. Posting 100 points in the second leg of a road double is unbelievable. But what was most impressive was 28 assists. That's unheard of, and they're going to be so hard to scout come finals time. But then over in Adelaide, their big five are absolutely firing, and that roster is definitely a championship contender. They've put their hand up and made everyone take notice of that. They've got 5 Olympians on that roster, so they're looking pretty good. And also, yeah, Bendigo's win 6 players in double figures, and we should shout out to the Spirit organisation. Congratulations on their first minor premiership for the WNBL.
Bendigo does finish in first place on the ladder, and the top 4 cannot change in the last round. It's Bendigo on top at 20-3, Dandenong at 19-4, Adelaide at 16-6, and then Townsville at 12-10. So that is set. Even if Dandenong wins their last game and Bendigo loses and they have a tied record at 20-4, Bendigo has the head-to-head and they can't drop out of first place. Then outside the playoff bracket is Bulleen at 10-13, Logan at 8-15, Sydney at 7-16, Canberra at 7-16, and West Coast at 3-19. So nobody outside the playoffs is going to post a better than 50-50 record, Shaz.
Yeah, and I think that's probably deserving of the top 4. They've been really solid, especially just after Christmas, that, you know, you couldn't fault any of those teams in the top 4. But we've still been spoilt for some cracking matches involving teams outside the 4. So that shows how tight it was. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think that's probably fitting for the top 4 to all post very good winning records because they've been solid. They
certainly have. The thing we just mentioned about Dandenong posting 100 points, Adelaide scored 98 against the Flames. Bendigo scored 83 against the Caps, but I think the thing maybe to look at on the other side of the coin is that old saying that offence wins games, defence wins championships. Dandenong held Townsville to 63 points and they held Logan to 62. Bendigo held Canberra, and admittedly Canberra's having a struggling season, held Canberra to 46 points. Adelaide allowed 73 from Sydney, so are we looking at Dandenong and Bendigo as being those defensive teams that can shut other teams down when their offence dries up a little?
Well, they certainly do pride themselves on defence, but as does Peter Buckle, which is been shown when they've beaten Adelaide have gone over Dandenong and Bendigo in the last couple of weeks. So I think they're certainly in contention and they adjust their game plan accordingly. As to Dandenong, they've been in some really high-scoring shootouts where they've allowed over 80 points and still won the game. So I think it's going to be really exciting. But you're right, whoever can actually, I guess, lock down their defensive game plan in the finals, I think you'll see take out the championship.
The one player that keeps bobbing up for Adelaide, and she has week in, week out, and we talk about, you know, the 5 Olympians that they have. Susie Batkovic. She just drops in a lazy 27 points, 8 rebounds. So they've obviously got the inside presence with the Batgirl and Laura Hodges as the main 2. But then they turn around and they go 9 of 18 on threes against Sydney. So now coaches are starting to think, well, if we try and double Batkovic inside, we're going to leave a shooter open outside. If we go there, we've only got single coverage on her. I think Adelaide every week are looking better and better and more than a smoky to trouble the top 2.
Yeah, they've definitely got me sitting up and taking notice. I think they're looking the best team of all the top 3, which is huge because Dandenong and Bendigo haven't done anything to falter my belief in them. But what I've seen of Adelaide is they've got an experienced group. Batkovic is on fire. She played every game this season. I'd say she'd be runaway favourite for another MVP. She's just been that dominant. And then, yeah, you've got the experienced players around who know when to step up. They're going to take their shots when they're open, and they're hitting them at the moment. So it makes them almost impossible to scout.
As part of our talking points for the last couple of shows and next week's show, we'll be having a look at the top 4 teams, the playoff teams. And as it happens, today's playoff preview is the Adelaide Lightning. So let's keep talking about them. They're at 16 and 6. The leading scorer is Susie Batkovic with a 21.2 scoring average, and she's shooting at 46.4% and 9.8 rebounds. Then you've got Laura Hodges at 13.4 points, shooting at 58%, which shows that she's really doing a great job inside, 5.5 rebounds. Ange Marino, 11.5 points and 4.3 assists. Nadine Payne, who has been a really good support player, I think, this season, and probably deserves to be called more than a support player, averaging 9.3 points at almost 55%. And then Jenny Screen, who I think is, you know, the ultimate all-rounder on that team and probably the glue that holds the team together, 8.4 points, 6.3 rebounds and 4.3 assists. You can't really argue with those numbers from Jenny Screen. Against the top 4 teams, they're 4 and 3. They're 1 and 2 against Bendigo, 1 and 1 against Dandenong, with Dandenong to come, and they're 2 and 1 against Townsville, who's going to be their first playoff opponent. You've sort of talked about Adelaide a little bit. Surely we've got to back them in to win that first playoff game at home against Townsville.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you can throw their record against the top 4 teams almost out the window because, as I said, they've had pretty interrupted season and, you know, Batkovic's been out injured a lot, Marino's been out injured a lot, but still managing to average double figures and nearly 4.5 assists. So they're solid in the point guard position as well. Yeah, I think they should account for Townsville in that first round, but you know, on the back of those 5 players we've mentioned, they got Jo Hill, which, you know, has a bazillion WNBL games
Super
and
veteran.
finals experience. Nadine Payne was really the X factor, I thought, in Townsville's playoff run last year. And also Steph Talbot's having a really good year for them. So, yeah, they're, like I said, they're looking really good. And you go through those players, none of them are really one-dimensional. I mean, you say Susie scores and rebounds, but no one's been able to stop her doing either of those. So, yeah, they're really tough.
Couple of other talking points, I guess just as a matter of housekeeping to bring up from last week was Bridget Ardossi went to the WNBL tribunal. She pleaded guilty to tripping Rachel Flanagan and she was suspended for 2 games. Of course, after Canberra had already suspended her for the rest of the season, so I guess that tribunal finding was a little irrelevant unless they were going to suspend her further into next season.
Yeah, like we said last week, it's something that was very new to this league. I don't think the tribunal has had to really refer to the video footage much at all in WNBL history, but looks like they got it right. And I think from Bridget's perspective, as we said, she's taken the right steps to rectify it, and the suspension imposed by her own club would have hurt her far more than anything the WNBL were going to throw at her anyway. And the other one, I guess, from Canberra's perspective as well, is that Lauren Jackson has announced that she is not returning to the WNBA this year. She's going to rehab and make sure that she's over all her injury problems, which I guess is hopefully good news for the WNBL for next season in that she may play with the Caps. I know her contract calls for, out of the multiple years with Canberra, she gets 1 year, she can go overseas. So I guess it'll be interesting to see which way she goes on that. Yeah, it's funny. We've talked about her nearly every week. Hasn't played a game in the WNBL this season, unfortunately, but all the talk lately has been we've been celebrating and commending the fact that I guess the medical staff are getting it right. They've identified the problem. She now knows the process that's required. It was a tough decision, obviously. She's loved and adored in Seattle and given them, I think, 12 years straight of service over there. So good decision for her body and for the longevity of her, which is obviously something we celebrate because it means we'll get to see her for longer, hopefully, in the WNBL.
Definitely, and hope she is up and running by next season, whether it be in Australia or in Europe or maybe even Asia. Who knows where that Lauren will bob up, because she's still one of the most wanted players in the world, so good luck to her. How many MVPs has Loz won, do you reckon, Shaza?
In the WNBL or total?
Oh, well, she wins.
Total, you would just, we'd be here all day.
She's won multiple, hasn't she?
WNBL, I'm not sure.
I think she's probably won 5 or 6 in the WNBL, I'm not 100% sure. She won't win this season's WNBL MVP, obviously, because she hasn't played a game. And we talked about Susie Bakovic. She is going to be one of the favourites. And that will be announced at the annual MVP Awards dinner on March 24. There will be the MVPs and other awards for the WNBL, the NBL and various Basketball Australia awards. That is March 24 at Crown in Melbourne. And you can get tickets for that event at basketball.net.au and follow the links to the MVP dinner. One of the great nights on the basketball calendar, Shaz.
It is. It's entertainment plus. Everyone's looking sharp. All the guys and girls get their best frocks and suits on, and it's always a good night. Were you part of the
pink limo last year? Were you in that?
A couple of years ago, there may have been a Hummer involved, yes.
And as every week on Lights Up, we like to have a look at some viewer questions that come in via Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget, you can follow the WNBL on Facebook and the league website, wnbl.com.au, and also the Twitter account at WNBL. You can also get at Sharin Milner 4 and our other co-host at Desi Globe 6. Is there any chance we're going to see Desi ever again on the show?
I'm not sure. I think she took a camper van down to Tasmania and
she might have got lost in the wilderness.
Yes, possibly.
Hopefully she'll be back next week sitting in the big chair. But let's have a look at a couple of questions. The first one is from Facebook, and it's from Ed Redden, one of the very keen WNBL followers, and he wants to know who is the most underrated player in the WNBL.
Very good question, GB, and as you can see, I'm buying myself time because it's a tough one. I think, look, there's obviously every team has players that don't get the praise or accolade or don't get their dues on the stat sheet, and one for mine I think is Bendigo Spirit's Kelly Wilson. I think she is a very underrated player. She takes away every time she's getting the best defender, I think, to her because of her potential to score. She's stepped up and had some big scoring games this year, and I think she's really crucial to Bendigo's finals chances. She's been in that organisation for a long time. They don't have to worry about what they're going to get. They just put her on the floor and know she's going to produce and keep her defensive player busy all game. She
does have that, I guess, potential to be a breakout player, doesn't she? If for some reason that Harrell can't get going, or another guard can't get going, that she's always there, and she's fast, she's speedy, she's quick. That she's got that potential to, like you say, to step up and have a big game. Yeah, that's right. I mean, look at Bendigo's main strengths. You've got Christie on one end and Gabe on the other. If Christie penetrates, they're not helping off Kelly Wilson because she's going to hit the three. And if Kelly's player passes into Gabe, they're not going to double off her. So she's always keeping a defender occupied, which is really key in Bendigo's success this year. Okay, so there you go. Kelly Wilson, perhaps the most underrated player in the WNBL. Our next question comes from Max Gravilla. Which player do you think will make the biggest impact on the way the finals play out? Yeah, good one. We've mentioned a couple, haven't we, already? Look, for mine, it might be an obvious one because of the form she's been in, but I still don't think people are really taking note. They might want to just get on ESPN and have a look at this girl. Monica Wright at Dandenong is a star, and she's getting it done, and she's even dishing out assists now. So come finals time, this is going to be just like a day out in the park for her, I think. I don't think she's going to get any nerves or wobbles. And, I think teams better be ready for her to step up because, no disrespect to anyone she's played against, but I don't think she's got out of second gear yet. It's an interesting choice. And if I had a little input on this one, I would stay at Dandenong, and I'm going to say it's Jenna O'Hay. Because just lately, she hasn't been putting up monster numbers. She had a good game on the weekend, not monster numbers. And she's the type of player that could go through a game and seem like not making much contribution statistically, but then when the game is there to be won, she's just going to load them on her shoulders. She's going to take responsibility, and she's going to take and make the big shots.
Yeah, you're right. And that would be the thing that would keep me awake at night if I was playing Dandenong. I haven't seen Jenna O'Hea, Monica Wright, Kathleen McLeod has been faultless this season, but none of them have really had to elevate their game much to that next level. But we know they're all able to at the drop of a hat, and Jenna and Kathleen particularly thrive on finals pressure. We saw that in last year's grand final. So yeah, I think teams just really need to be ready for that next elevated step that we know those players are able to take.
Going to be huge. Our final question comes from Jared Potter, and it is Dandenong related. If Krista Phillips isn't able to return to the court this week after injury, how does Dandenong counter Susie Batkovich?
Yeah, well, how does anyone counter Susie Batkovich? That's been the question of the season. I think you've got to double team her, or at least try and clog the paint up, and obviously try and minimise her scores on her left hand. But certainly without the height of Krista Phillips and strength, she's just going to absolutely dominate the Downies of the world, or they'll probably have to play a 3-guard out of position inside on her. So that is a big worry. But I think if you were from the outside looking in, you'd see points in the paint look quite even, Dandenong v Adelaide. But Dandenong get them all from penetration, strong drives from their guards, planting their feet in the paint and finishing. So that is a bit of a misleading stat. And you're right, Susie could just park under there and end up with 40 points if Krista Phillips isn't playing, which is a big worry for Dandenong.
Okay, so 3 very good questions there, Shaz. And now the pressure is on you to pick the winner to receive the Champion prize pack. It's the backpack, the cap, the socks, all the great things that Champion are known for. Who's going to win the pack?
Well, I hate doing this, GB, but it's finals time, so I've got to step up to the pressure here. There were 3 very good questions, and I think this week I'm just going to give it to Max Gravilla because that was a really good question about who will make the biggest impact in the finals. And sit up and take note, everyone. There
you are, the Champion prize pack on its way to Max Gravilla. And Max, someone from the WNBL, will be in contact with you via Facebook very, very quickly. That Dandenong Adelaide game is going to be a fantastic game. It's part of week 19 of the regular season, the last weekend of the regular season. Shaz, talk us through the games that we've got coming up.
Yep, should be another good one to close out the regular season. Friday night in Canberra, the Caps fans get a chance to farewell their team for this year. They're hosting the West Coast Waves, so get out there and show your support for what's been a pretty tough season for the Canberra Caps. Up in Queensland, we have the Queensland Derby. Do they call it that up there? I'm not sure, but it's on ABC, so anyone who thinks this isn't a game worthy of tuning into, you're kidding yourselves. This one will be huge. Your teams have done really well this year, so tune in if you can't get down to Logan. Logan Thunder versus Townsville Fire. We'll catch it on ABC on Saturday afternoon. Also, Friday night, Bulleen Boomers hosting the Adelaide Lightning. Bulleen showed some good signs last week and a bit decimated by injury, but that one should be a good one. So Bulleen fans, again, get out and farewell your Boomers for this season because they've had a tough one as well. Over on Saturday night, this is the game of the round, no doubt about it. Dandenong Rangers playing host to Adelaide Lightning. I'm sure they'll be hanging off the rafters at Dandenong Stadium. That one will be huge. Sydney Uni Flames hosting the West Coast Waves. So another good chance for Sydney fans to say farewell to their Flames team who had a tough start to the season but have finished strong. And then over in Bendigo, Bendigo Spirit hosting the Townsville Fire. I'm sure Bendigo fans don't need any more encouragement to get out there and get their team some momentum going into finals.
So a couple of playoff preview games there with Dandenong against Adelaide. And of course we do have to acknowledge our sponsors, Shuz. And it all starts with IINet.
And Champion.
ABC.
The Australian Sports Commission.
Sporting Pulse.
Sporting.
And ANFA. We have got one weekend left in the regular season and then the playoffs are upon us. It's going to be a huge playoff series, there's no question about that. We've talked about Adelaide as a smoky, but we've talked about Bendigo and Dandenong all season as the top 2. Pick one for the championship now. We'll let you change it in a couple of weeks maybe, but pick one now.
You know I need that room to move, but I'll go with Bendigo right now.
Go for Bendigo, okay. Well, there you go, it's on the record. Sharin Milner says Bendigo for the WNBL Championship. We'll see if that is the way it pans out in a few weeks. We'll be back next week with Lights Up.